So welcome everyone. We're so happy to have you tonight. We're hoping to give you some information about the neuroscience program at Syracuse. And I'm Robin Jones. I am the director of the Neuroscience Integrated Learning major at Syracuse. I'm also an associate teaching professor. And I teach a lot of the intro courses for the program, and I've actually added a couple of new elective courses in the program. We have another main faculty member. Her name is Jennifer Cook. Sorry, Sandra, I'm getting to you. So Jennifer Cook is not with us tonight, but she also is a primary advisor for the program, and she also teaches some of the intro series courses, as well as some upper division courses herself. And then last, but certainly not least, Sandra Hewett, who is the executive director of neuroscience. She directs all things neuroscience at Syracuse. And she is a full professor of neuroscience, and has a wonderful research lab that students are just dying to get into. Students always want to join Sandra's lab. So Sandra also teaches for the program. She teaches advanced neuroscience. And so we're hoping to give you a lot of good information tonight, let you ask some questions, hopefully finish up around 6 o'clock, and we'll get going from here. Oh, I should have.
Oh my God.
We also have two students with us this evening. Hana is a junior in the neuroscience program, and Mitchell is a sophomore in the neuroscience program. Both excellent students, and we are very lucky to have them as participants in our program. So hopefully yes, good, I got it under control. So a little bit about the program itself. It's what's called an integrated learning major. So I'll talk about that more in detail in a minute, but it's a little bit different from a traditional major. You wouldn't major in neuroscience as a single major at Syracuse. You would pair it with another major as part of your degree program. And I'll talk about that more in depth in a minute. The program currently enrolls about 225 students from various majors and colleges on campus. So we have the College of Arts and Sciences. Most of our students come from there, but we certainly have students that are part of Newhouse, are part of Whitman, are part of Falk College. So all the different colleges across campus. I believe we've had someone major in neuroscience from every college now on the campus. So at least 60% or more of our students are currently involved in research, and at least 50% of our students do study abroad at some point during the program. So if that's something you're interested in doing, the program, even though you do pair it with another major, it does afford you the time to go abroad if that's something you're interested in. And then I introduced the three core faculty. Jen's not with us, but Sandra is our executive director. I am the director of the integrated learning major, the undergraduate learning major. And then Jen is an assistant teaching professor and a primary advisor. So Jen and I are both the primary advisors for the program. And Sandra also does some advising for our students too, particularly if they're paired with biology. So you might have her as an advisor if you were planning to major in biology and neuroscience. And then importantly, our program draws faculty from across the entire campus. So many departments contribute to the success of our program, like communication sciences and disorders, psychology, Falk College. So we have faculty that come from basically many departments across campus to help us make this program the success that it is. So what is an integrated learning major? I promise to come back to this. And the integrated learning major really is a major that is, like, as I said, paired with a primary major. And the idea of this is really to give you this experience of breadth and depth. So we call it a T major, breadth and depth in neuroscience. And the breadth is really provided by having you take electives outside of your primary major. So if you, for example, decide to major in psychology, towards the neuroscience program, you would take 2 electives that were not within psychology. So you could take, for example, not to brag about my neuroanatomy course, but you could take neuroanatomy with me because that is considered a biology, a BIO, biology prefix. So that course would be found within the biology department. So if you were a psychology major, you could take neuroanatomy as an elective towards your neuroscience degree. So that is designed to help give you breadth within neuroscience.
Can I just interrupt you for 1 second? Sorry, I'm a pain. But also what I want to point out is that as a biology major or a biochemistry major or a biotech major, you're required to take labs. And so while the psychology students could take the neuroanatomy lab as an elective, as a bio student, you can take it as an upper level division lab for which will count for your upper division courses. So we can talk about that. So when she talks about being an advisor, we actually try to look. There are only a few, maybe 2 courses that you can kind of combine and use but basically she's going to show you there's a lot of courses that we have that are more neuroscience related for psych people who will use for their psych degrees and for bio people who can use for their bio degree. So even though the neuroscience ILM is limited to 24 credits, you certainly have way more courses to round out your degree that can really make it souped up neuroscience is what I want to say.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. And Sandra mentioned that about the 24 credits. So one of the points on here, it's a double major, but fewer credits. So the nice thing about the integrated learning majors is that generally you have to take fewer credits, but you get a full major for it. So in the end, you get a degree that says, I have a Bachelor of Science in biology and I have a Bachelor of Science in neuroscience. But neuroscience only requires 24 credits. A traditional major is much, much more than that. So it's a really kind of a good deal that way. And it also allows you to get experience in 2 fields, which is really nice. So here are the 24 credits. So basically this list of courses at the beginning, so Intro to Neuroscience and Intro to Cognitive Neuroscience, those are our 2, really the introductory level courses. The first being the biological perspective, the second being more of the psychological perspective. So often students will end up taking these together and they actually like taking them at the same time because they tend to cover similar topics, but then show you 2 different perspectives, 2 different neuroscientific perspectives on the same topic. So in Introduction to Neuroscience, we might cover cellular signaling involved in the visual system between the retina and the occipital cortex. But then in cognitive neuroscience, we might teach you about where those signals go and how they're perceived and interpreted after they reach the occipital cortex. So how are all those signals combined to make an object in your mind, for example, to recognize an object? So they might cover similar topics, but have a different spin depending on if you're on the biology side if you're on the Intro to Neuroscience, biological side, or cognitive neuroscience, the psychological side. So you take both of those courses. And then more of the upper division courses. So you have a choice between cognitive psychology or cognitive science. Advanced neuroscience is usually one of your final courses. Most students take this in their senior year after they've had experience to more of the core neuroscience courses. And then you have cognitive neuroscience of speech and language, which is found within the communication sciences and disorders department. And then finally, neuroscience and society. We we call this our capstone course because it's a course that, and I don't know, Sandra, if you want to talk more about this, but it's a course that really allows you to look at how neuroscience is represented in the arts, in pop culture, in general society, in policy, in politics, in government. So it gives you a good chance. It's more of a seminar style. Students have discussions, they can write papers, make presentations, projects, and students generally love this course. It's usually taken again in the junior or senior year, and students really do enjoy this course, and they like it as a capstone because they can sort of see and apply the things that they've learned through the other courses over their 3 or 4 years in the program at that point. Did I do that justice, Sandra? Okay, good. All right. And then 2 electives outside the primary major. So there is a massive list of electives that could be taken outside the primary major. So neuroscience basically has, what we've done is we have identified what we think are all of the available electives on campus. And when you get here, you might find there's a new one being offered that's not on our list of approved electives. And if you do find one, you can bring it to our attention and petition to accept, for us to accept that as an elective course. And then we can add it to our list of courses that we want to get approved. So new courses are being added all the time as new faculty are hired in different departments. And these electives come from biology, they come from psychology, linguistics, communication sciences and disorders, math, physics, let's see, engineering, computer sciences, and I think philosophy. I think I got them all. Oh, no, public health. Yep. See, there's so many now that it's starting to grow beyond my ability to remember them all. So these elective courses are generally courses students have always enjoyed taking. I think students really like the opportunity to take 2 classes that are really outside the primary major, but still related to neuroscience. So they're still taking a neuroscience-based course, but it's not necessarily a course that's another biology course if you're a biology major, or not another psychology course if you're a psychology major, or not another CSD course. It's something else within the purview of neuroscience that gives you a little bit of a different perspective. So
I think the next slide we have the list, right? Of some.
Yes. Good, thank you. So these are some of the courses that are some of our more popular, I would say, electives that are chosen from our list. The list is very long, but these are some of the more popular ones. So you can kind of look through those and you can see that there are different, like, so bioethics, coming from the philosophy department. You can see linguistic analysis coming from the linguistics department. You can see different biology of aging, brain and behavioral plasticity is more of a biological side of things. Let's see, I've got like cognition and aging from the psychology department. So you can kind of see CSD up in this area, communication sciences, bioengineering. So you can see that there's a lot of courses that are represented from different departments. A lot of fun things that students do enjoy as elective courses. So that's kind of just a small synopsis of our list. And you can see that we've added a lot of new courses. And again, new courses are added almost every year or 2, I would say, to the list of electives as new faculty develop new courses. So I talk a lot about biology and psychology, but really the most common majors that are paired with neuroscience are more than that. Those just happen to be the 2 that are probably overrepresented in the cohort of students that also take the neuroscience ILM. So most of them do fall into psychology or biology, but growing certainly is biotechnology, public health, chemistry, and communication sciences and disorders. So these are our most common majors, and we see more and more students choosing alternatives from the traditional psychology and biology to add some of these others. But we have had majors from pretty much everything. And do I have, yep, in short, anything. So we've had majors who are French majors and neuroscience majors. We've had public policy and neuroscience majors. We've had communications like Newhouse, journalism and neuroscience. So it's not just limited to the things that are your more traditional offshoots or what do I want to say? Content that's normally sort of traditionally within neuroscience. We find that we're getting majors that, for example, a journalism major that we had wanted to do scientific writing. So she wanted to do scientific journalism and she wanted to focus on neuroscience. And so she paired those two. So you wouldn't think of that traditionally, you know, like marketing is another one. You don't traditionally think of marketing and neuroscience as going together, but certainly the more you know about the way people think and how the brain processes visual information, how attentional networks work, certainly adds to your ability to be good at marketing. So, you know, I think that students, as they start to think about what they want to do after college, they start to realize, you know, this is a major that, you know, neuroscience isn't something I would have thought would, you know, pair well with public policy, but, you know, now I'm really interested in writing science policy and I happen to be very interested in neuroscience and it works. So really you can major in anything on campus and major in neuroscience. It's kind of just whatever you want to do, you can make your college experience what you want. So for advising, again, myself and Jennifer Cook, almost said Jennifer Hewett. So Jen Cook, we both do advising and Sandra does contribute to advising as well. Particularly if you're a biology major, she'll kind of help you take care of two birds with one stone if you do get assigned to her as an advisor. But we basically advise all of our neuroscience majors. And when you declare your major, you are assigned an advisor. So we try to get you early. And usually the way that general advising likes to work it now is that once you come in as a freshman, if you declare neuroscience, after the first, so basically, excuse me, in November, you get assigned an advisor in neuroscience. And you may not be assigned another primary advisor at that time, but you will get one for neuroscience. So you can contact us and we can help you start to plan for the next 4 years. We do regular check-ins. So we usually have you check in once or twice a year to make sure that you're on track for graduation, that you're, you know, meeting all of the rules that apply to having a double major, et cetera. And we just like to make sure that we get to know you. I mean, I don't want you to just be a name on a list. I want you to be somebody I know when it comes to graduation time. I want to know your face and your name. So we do like to make sure that we check in with you at least every fall, but sometimes it is every fall and every spring. It just depends on what year you're in. And then that neuroscience advising occurs through the 4 years. If you come in as a freshman and you decide, I don't know if I'm ready to do the neuroscience major yet, you can actually, because it's only the 24 credits, you can actually wait and join sophomore or junior year if you want to and still complete the program on time, depending on how many courses you have left for your primary major. So you can always think about it and join later, and we still help you. We advise you through that process. And you can check in with us when you get here and say, this is sort of how I'm seeing my 4 years. You know, do you think that's a good idea or not? you can always check in with us, even if you haven't declared. You can contact any one of us and we can help you, make decisions about adding a major. Now, clubs. So we have 2 specific neuroscience clubs. There are a lot of clubs on campus, but we do have 2 specific clubs. So we have Neurosci. Neurosci is our honor society for neuroscience students. It's actually an international association or society. It does have criteria, so you have to have a 3.5 GPA after 12 credits in the program. And then you can apply to be inducted into Neurosci itself. And so we do have an induction ceremony every year. And then the Neurosci students actually plan their activities. I see I have a little misspelling there. So they do actually plan their own activities with the help of an advisor. So Jen Cook is actually the main advisor for Neurosci, and she helps the students. They kind of decide, what they'd like to do, and then she kind of helps them make that happen. And then we have a general neuroscience club, and that's for any and all students that are interested in neuroscience and want to join. And they do offer some informal tutoring for the intro level courses. And so both of these clubs are, I think, very popular. I think, Mitchell, are you in these both? Hannah, are you in either of these?
I'm in Neurosci.
You are in Neurosci. Do you want to talk about it for a minute?
No. It's just you're in a kind of a community of people who are, one, interested in the same thing, but also interested in it in a higher level and have kind of the same goals and aspirations as you. So you get to have some of those activities that Dr. Jones mentioned, where it's just like we had like a picnic in the park kind of thing. So you just get to like meet people who have similar interests, and it's really nice.
Thank you. And Mitchell, are you in one of these? I feel like you are.
I'm actually the treasurer for the Neuroscience Club. So I'm always working with them. Last week we had like a movie nights. We've had like different debates in like philosophy or politics, different things like that. So it's a really great way to engage in the different disciplines that neuroscience kind of covers. So yeah, it's a great opportunity, especially for underclassmen. We serve as sort of like a stepping stone for Neurosci once you complete those 12 credits and you're eligible to apply to the Honor Society.
Very good, thank you. So, and also Brain Week, right? So they've wanted to do, I feel like there's a more official name than Brain Week. What is it? Is that it?
It is Brain Awareness Week.
Brain awareness. Thank you. I'm like, I feel like Brain Week is not it.
Brain Awareness Week.
Okay, thank you. So Brain Awareness Week. So unfortunately, Neurosci actually started just before COVID hit. So the next year so we did have one round of Brain Awareness Week where students set up activities on the quad, and did things for general students on campus, making them, do sort of brain awareness activities, test your brain fitness, that kind of thing. But I know that Dr. Cook she has some goals for this year. I think now that we can be more in person, she has some goals for really trying to do some really fun things this year during Brain Awareness Week, involving both the clubs, so Neurosci and Neuroscience Club working together, I think, to carry those out. But unfortunately, we haven't had a great chance to do this yet because of COVID. It's been a real challenge. So those are some of the, and now there's a million clubs on campus. These are just the neuroscience specific ones. And then finally, research. So students always have a lot of questions about research. Our students are very involved in research. Not all students do research. So for some students, it's just not their thing. They aren't interested in doing it, and that's fine too. Other students are really interested in research and want to get involved. And so they do. And we have faculty, as I said before, from so many different departments that you can really try to get involved in research in any aspect of neuroscience that interests you. So if you are in bioengineering, for example, and you want to focus on neuroscience and bioengineering, you can do that. So Dr. Nanja, for example, looks at blood-brain barrier stuff. So she is somebody that could mentor you in bioengineering as an example. And then we also have a neighbor down the street. So if you're not familiar with the area or Syracuse in general, we have a neighbor down the street. So that's our Upstate Medical University. It's a state university. And they also have lots and lots of neuroscientific research going on down there. They are, I say it's literally down the street. So it is like you leave our campus and you're basically onto theirs. So you can also work with people down there as well. So if you find somebody at Upstate that interests you, you can contact them. Many researchers down there are willing to take our undergraduate students for research as well. So there's a lot of opportunities in Syracuse to get involved in research if you want to. We also have, do I have that in a slide? Let me just see. Okay, I don't. So we also have a Neuroscience Research Day that is unique to the program. So we actually have our own neuroscience as a program overall hosts a Neuroscience Research Day every year. This year, luckily, it will be hopefully keeping our fingers crossed going back to in person in the spring. And so students, undergraduate students actually have a chance to present a poster at the Neuroscience Research Day and also come and listen to other faculty talk about their research on campus. And we also bring in a keynote speaker, usually from outside of Syracuse, to talk about their research. So it's a really fun day. It's usually down at the Sheraton, so a hotel right close by to us. You can walk to it right from campus. I almost argue that it's kind of on campus in a way. Yeah, right, yeah. So that's always a really, really fun day for everybody. Sandra, did you want to say anything about research? No.
No, I was just going to say it's funny because someone did ask about study abroad and research. I'm fielding questions in the chat, so as you speak. So
thank you
so
so much.
It's really fun, actually. I think we definitely tag team on this. No, we encourage research, and like Robin said, if we can't accommodate it here on campus, we work with our neighbors to do it. I think there's another. Can you go to the next slide? Because not only do we just encourage it, Syracuse University is like totally on board for undergraduate research. I really don't think that you're going to find this at other places, particularly the last one that's on this list called The Source, which is the Syracuse Office of Undergraduate Research and Creative Engagement. You can write a grant, which is really good for you to do, but it also provides salary for you to be able to work in the lab. It also provides the lab with supply money, which is really good because prior to this, which I'll be honest, and I've been here 10 years, we take undergrads in our lab out of the goodness of our heart. We hope that you're going to be productive and we want you to be productive. But it really comes out of our coffers. And this allows you to really also step up on your own and work with your advisor. One of my students, I'm just going to say, told me that writing the Source grant was the best experience that she had. She really then understood her project because it talks about the background and what are the methods are you going to use. And you really do, instead of going in the lab and saying, okay, I'm going to do a few things, you really thinking about a project. There are other programs that you can be involved in that are listed here. Our honor students must do a thesis. So it's 2 years in the lab and you write a thesis. In the biology department, we also have something called distinction of biology, and that's also a thesis. So you have to write a thesis, which means if you're involved in those and McNair and LSAMP, you must, in fact, do research. It's part of the deal. It doesn't have to be biological research like that goes on in our lab. As Robin mentioned about one of our students, the interesting student, the journalist, but we also had one who was a public policy major, and she did work with a faculty member in public health on addiction and withdrawal in a population in Nigeria, and actually wrote her thesis on the analysis of this data. There was another who worked also with someone in public health who looked at veterans and this concept of mindfulness that some of you might have heard about, but really being in the moment and its role in assuaging PTSD. And so you can really see that if you're interested, obviously, in the biological or psychological sciences, it makes absolutely sense for you to do, and the brain, neuroscience, but there's definitely a way for you to tap this and create a thesis that isn't necessarily something where you came and ran Western blots in the lab. So I'll leave it at that.
So if you have any questions about research, please feel free to ask. And then what could you do with a bachelor's degree in neuroscience? So we get this question a lot. And a lot of our students do go to graduate school. So that is probably one of the more common pathways that is taken after graduation with your bachelor's degree. So many students go to graduate schools of all kinds. So some might go to graduate school for a research-related degree, either a master's or a PhD in neuroscience itself, or it might be what their primary major was in, or some combination of the two. We have students that go to medical school, physical therapy. We have students that, occupational therapy, physician assistant, all the health-related professions, a dental school. So there are a lot of sort of graduate school. A new one I've been seeing more often, I think of these as I write my letters of recommendation. Mental health counseling is another one I see a lot of now, social work. So I'm thinking like a lot of, I did mention the journalism. She ended up going, I think, to NYU for science writing. So there's a lot of graduate programs out there that students go, and we're kind of collecting this data actually right now on what our latest cohorts of students have been doing. A few that I just saw actually were not in graduate school, but they were actually more over on this list over here. And several are actually working in pharmaceuticals, big pharma. They're working in biotech industry, doing sort of research tech, research assistant jobs. Some of our students are doing, so more on the psychology side, doing research assistant jobs in cognitive research. So students, we actually have had students, we don't have it mentioned over on the right-hand side, but we actually do have students that have gone on to graduate programs in clinical psychology, school psychology, and industrial psychology. So a lot of different things that you can do with your degree when you're done with it, whether you want to go on to graduate school or you'd like to go right into a job, you do have options out there. All right, so that is the end of my formal presentation. And if you want to get in contact with any of us, I should have put Jen's information on here too, but our general neuroscience inbox is this neuroscience@syr.edu. So you could get to me or Sandra or Jen that way. Any of us might be the one to respond to you. But that's our general email inbox. And then Sandra's email is there as well as mine. So feel free to reach out and contact us at any point. if you have any questions at all. But now I can open it up, or if any of you want to comment, and I can also open it up for questions.
Yeah, hello. So I was wondering on how, from either the student's perspective or your guys' perspective, because I was thinking of applying with psychology as my primary major, and then neuroscience as along with it, and then minoring in finance. How would you say like handling that much work is, and is it doable, and just that kind of sense?
So I would say absolutely. So, I mean, we do have students that take multiple majors. So we might have students that do, say, biology, and they'll do like philosophy and then do neuroscience with it. So we do, it's not, I would say that's not as common as just pairing the two, but there are plenty of students that do that. And you just have to be prepared, as it will be a lot of work, obviously. And you don't want to overload. I think that's the best advice I would give like new students, is don't overload yourself with credits each semester so that you can have time to focus on all of your work. But I would say that you could absolutely do that. It's feasible.
And if you know that's exactly what you want to do, it's better to know that earlier than later. I think the students will tell you, because then you can craft you'll know exactly what you need to slot in, because I think we didn't say to you, and Hana and Mitchell could say to you, is we're also a liberal arts school, right? Which is, I think, fabulous, of course, because I came from a liberal arts background, even though, I have a PhD in science, but that means you also have a liberal arts core to deal with. And some of those courses, Maya, that you're thinking about for finance that could go towards your minor, you can also use in your liberal arts core. So some of it, like when she was talking about the philosophy students who also took philosophy minors, they could use that in their liberal, they can use at least two of those courses, right? Like a series. The students can tell you better because I have to learn it every semester, but they can use those courses also in their liberal arts core. And so, yes, you have a lot to take for your core, but if you're strategic about it, you can figure out which ways to do it. And if you know that's what you want to do early, it's better. So I'll let Maya or Mitchell, I don't know. Maya, Mitchell, what are you? Hana, I'm sorry, I don't know why. I'm looking at Maya, so I'm like at Hana, but what are you pairing your major with?
Mitchell, you can go.
Either way,
Okay.
One of you, both.
So I'm actually double majoring in neuroscience and psychology, and double minoring in linguistic studies and Spanish. And I'm on the pre-med track. So having classes in different disciplines really like gives me the opportunity to dip into different classes, and that pretty much fills the core requirements that I need to take. So it's pretty easy to work around all of that as long as you meet with advisors and plan. It just takes a lot of planning, in my opinion. And
he didn't tell you that he's also doing research in the communication sciences and disorders department. Working in an aphasia lab. So he even has time to do that. And Hana, what are you doing?
I'm a triple major, neuroscience, psychology, and CSD. So it's definitely easy to fit in everything you want to do. I didn't add my third major until my third year. So definitely the advisors help. And I'm still on track to graduate in 4 years. You can talk to your advisor about that. If you think you can handle the workload, then I would say go for it, because I think it'll be worth it in the end. At least that's how I think of it.
Okay, thank you. That's super cool.
I just answered a question about the class sizes, and I'm going to let Dr. Jones, but right now I know Dr. Jones only has 30 or 35 students in her intro course, but I do want to point out, we have the 200 majors, right? Or 225. That means only between 40 and 50 of you at any given time for any given stage. And we want our courses to be small because you will be in big if you're in biology or even psychology, have to take your big introductory science classes. Neuroscience is meant to be a smaller, and I'd like to say, because Dr. Jones kept talking about advising, a friendlier and a more cohesive student experience. And I don't know if Hana or Mitchell feels that way. That's what we want. That's what we're going for. But I'm hoping that that's what they feel as well. So the classes are not huge. And like Dr. Jones, Cook has a pain and addiction, biology of pain and addiction, and that's what we call a seminar class. And so there's no more than 15 to 20 students in that class at all. In fact, she probably lets in more students than I would want her to, so that it would be smaller, actually. I know it, so I don't know if you want to comment on that, Hana and Mitchell. Or
yeah, my intro to neuro class was small. I don't know, Dr. Jones, how much. It was like 25 to 30 kids, but it was definitely like one of the most engaging, and just we worked in groups, and it was very like you met the people and worked with the people in your class. So it was definitely like coming into Syracuse, thinking of it as a big school. It was kind of eye-opening on how kind of small and more focused it was in even those intro classes.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, I'm in intro to neuroscience with Dr. Jones right now, and the class is super small, and the way that it's run is really engaging. You're put into small groups, so it's a great way to make friends and meet other people in the neuroscience departments. So yeah, I think that the way that the classes are run have been really supportive to the students.
You both get A's.
So Ella and Alejandra, so Ella first and then Alejandra.
Hi, so I would have my camera on, but it doesn't seem to want to be working right now.
Okay, good.
So if you were planning to go and apply to med school, how many of the courses would you say like overlap with the medical school prerequisites and what we need to know for like the MCAT?
So I can tell you two
That's what we
pieces
missed.
towards that.
Pre-health, pre-health. I meant to put that on a slide. We also have a pre-health advising. But go ahead.
We do, yes. So, so of the core courses, none of those are necessarily on the pre-med required, what they want. But what I will say is that particularly like for our psychology, so we'll have ILM students that major in psychology and not biology, but they're doing the pre-health, pre-med, whatever track. And they'll take their electives as genetics and cell biology. So they'll take psychology as their primary major, and then as their two electives for neuroscience, they'll apply genetics and cell biology because those are biology, so they're outside of psychology. So they can use those, and then that would go, you can kill two birds with one stone that way, and you can apply those courses that are favorable towards the pre-health track. So there is a way to sort of manipulate sometimes with the electives, you can do that, I would say, Sandra.
And bio majors, right? So if you look, because I've done this multiple times with different people, it depends on the medical school, but they want some psychology, right? So if you're a bio major, doing the neuroscience major gives you that psychology. I think they just want 2 credits of biology is exactly what you said, or 2 courses of biology. And actually my advanced neuroscience would take one of those, but you would probably still, you definitely want to take more. So we have a whole pre-health advising office, and they will help you with that as well. So they know you should be taking biochemistry. Even in biology, physics is not required for biology, but it is required for med school. But we know that. So we would say, what? Oh, you're and pre-health will make sure that. I know I talk to my students about that. Okay, you don't need it for biology, but you need it for, med school. So we've got to get physics within there. So you won't be lost is what I'm saying. So in fact, you might get frustrated because on your transcript, you will have a pre-health advisor, a psychology advisor, or neuroscience advisor. And if you are, if you are Maya, a finance
Advisor.
finance advisor,
Yeah.
or, in women. So you will have to do that. And the college advising, at least in the College of Arts and Sciences, where most of our students do come from, has their own set of advisors to help you with the liberal arts core. So there are sometimes that students come to me and I'll say, oh, you have to talk to your liberal arts, to make sure, but we do interface to make sure we can use this course for that and make sure things are fitting. So the answer is it all depends. If you're a psych, exactly. If you're a psych student, you're going to have to supplement with biology, right? If you're a biology student, you get it already with the psych, and we have to add a few courses on the side. And if you're a biochem major, you actually have to take physics. So, that's a really good way to do it. Okay.
And then in terms of the MCAT, you asked about the MCAT.
Oh yeah.
And actually, I had to teach an honors session. So we do have an honors program at Syracuse, and they have a I don't know what to call it. It's not really MCAT prep, but it actually kind of is MCAT prep that they do in the spring. And so I've taught 2 or 3 sessions for them each of the last 2 springs for MCAT prep. And there is a surprising amount of neuroscience on the MCAT. So there is actually a lot of the basic concepts, particularly the action potential, the synapse, all of that kind of thing, what different receptor types do. All of that was in the MCAT material, as well as the cognitive, the behavioral stuff, which surprised me a little bit. So a lot of the things that you learn in the intro to cognitive neuroscience course are actually on the MCAT. So there is actually quite a bit of material, what I would argue is some of the more challenging material in terms of biology that is found on the MCAT and in the neuroscience programs. So just as an aside there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And was that Ella? That was you, Ella, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Kiara?
Hi, so I was wondering, I know you said that about 50% of students study abroad, especially with the neuroscience major. Is it still possible to do study abroad throughout your undergraduate experience and still be on track for med school within 4 years?
I would say yes.
Yes.
So go for it, Mitchell.
So I'm a pre-med student and I'm a sophomore and I've already studied abroad. And I'm planning on studying abroad again. And it is difficult. It just takes a lot of planning. So I would say definite yes. I studied abroad over the summer in Madrid. So that gave me an opportunity to take classes that I wouldn't really get at Syracuse. And I took one of my favorite classes I've ever taken while I was there. And it was just a great experience that really prepared me better for the classes that I'm going to be taking in the future.
And actually, now that you just said that too, we do have at Syracuse University, see, there's so many things that come up that we don't think about. We have this thing called Maymester, where at the end of May, it's a like super compressed time, but we have some courses like Dr. Cook can offer sometimes some of her courses during Maymester, or you can take, like Mitchell was saying, you can take some of your electives. If you're a bio major and you have a B and you're getting a BS, you have to take an elective in ecology and you have to take an ecology evolution class anyway, but you have to take an ecology class, and there's a great ecology class that's offered in Maymester. There's some, there are summer classes, like he said, so there are ways to also do it. I have a student now where I was like, how are you doing this? And then I noticed she took a bunch of Maymester classes. She took some classes of the summer. Personally, I didn't do that in my world because I had to work. So we absolutely understand it. So I don't want to freak anybody out on this call, not everyone is Mitchell and not everyone will be Maya, and it's all good, right? So what we're trying to say is we can accommodate that if you want, or we can just accommodate you and you're still go-getters. Because what I'm going to tell you right now is our neuroscience students rock. They have good GPAs, right? Like you tend to self-select, because I wrote it in the chat at the beginning. You can't really get into the major unless you get a B in the 2 intro classes. And most of the time people do much better. I'm not saying that people don't, right? Because we do have a bell curve, but in general, the neuroscience students are really strong students, and all the faculty know that. So Alejandra, you wanted to ask a question. And Mitchell, you have a chat, so. Alejandra? No? You have your hand up. So, okay.
Oh, her mic's not working.
Oh, her mic's not working. Do you want to put it in? You can do it and I'll read it out loud. But someone just said, for anyone, how would you describe the Syracuse neuroscience community in a sentence? I'm gonna let Hana or Mitchell do that. I can do it, but I'm part of the community, but I'm not part of the student community, which is what I think you're asking.
I think I would just say it's just, oh, that's really hard.
You can use more than one sentence.
Thank you.
I mean, how do you feel about the community? Like, just tell us, I mean, in terms of.
At least for me, I know it's different. I think it's in general, coming to college in general and being in a major that is with people who like the same things, but it is a really nice community. You find the people who, you want to study with, and you talk about classes with, and you prepare just for the next 4 years with, and you can kind of like nerd out with them. At least that's what I was looking for when I came to college. But also like they're people you can hang out with. It's not just school. So yeah, finding like friends who have similar interests, that's my favorite thing about it. But that could be college in general, but hey.
Mitchell, you have?
I think I agree with Hannah. I think that if we're describing the neuroscience community, I think that there's just a lot of people that are excited about what they're doing and like to nerd out with each other and share their experiences and just enjoy their time here.
I think that having like the Neuro Club, like I know, one of my students was president a few years ago, and this really happened. So this might give you a little flavor. So I like to tell stories. Everyone knows this. When you take my advanced neuroscience class, you'll get stories. But we had here a student, and someone is very late, but I'll let them in anyway. A 13-year-old ran across the street not far from my house and was hit by a car and had a severe brain injury and was transported. Normally they go to upstate. Upstate is our level trauma 1, which is where you can do research, but was full and had to be airlifted to Rochester. And there was a big write-up in the Syracuse newspaper about this family and the difficulties. And the Neuroscience Club got together and had a fundraiser. So they came to me, and I have a friend who's a manager at a Dunkin' Donuts, and they donated all the donuts, and they sat in the atrium and, had people sign up, and they raised over $600 for that family. And it was like, we have to do something. And that happened within days. And I was thrilled. I mean, and so I think like these are the people that you are with. There are other clubs that we didn't talk about. There's a club on, something about the minds. I forget what that is. And it's really about mental health and everything. And we should probably mine our own clubs to show that there are more clubs that people can get involved with. But it really is, I guess I would say, it's what I've seen with the students is that they form a community neuroscience students seem to be pretty close knit, I guess is what I want to say. And these guys would tell you. So let's see what it says. If applying with the intent of the neuroscience major, should I apply dual enrollment, or is the double major not addressed until later? It's not addressed. You actually, even though they tell you that you have this major, you really don't declare, unless, is this changed now, Robin? Because it used to be you didn't declare until sophomore year, but now
you can come in already declared.
Okay. And we used to just ask our students, we got special dispensation to get you guys to declare your freshman year. And the reason we wanted to do that is so that you could get into the classes, because Dr. Jones's and Dr. Cook's and actually Dr. Lonus's intro courses, we have a psych professor who also teaches the intro cognitive neuroscience. Those courses are open to everyone. And of course they're open, they're necessary for the neuroscience major, but you might not know you want to be a neuroscience major. You all are obviously interested in it, but we do have people who come in and say, oh, I'll take that class, and then be like, oh, maybe I'll major in neuroscience. So if we know though that you really want to be a neuroscience major, we make sure that you have priority to get into those classes. And guess what though, not only have we done that, we have a lot of those classes. So since I've been here and Dr. Jones been here, before there might have been one a semester because we didn't have that many of you. And now sometimes we have three a year of each of those. And we're going to look at them, and we take a break from them if we've sort of caught up with everyone, because you asked about being small. 30 is pretty small that you're taking now. It usually is bigger than that, but not more than 60. But that's because we've added so many sections to make sure that we can accommodate everyone. And so we might only have 2 next year instead of 3 this year. So it might be a little bit bigger. Okay. Oh, I got 3 messages. Where? Oh, everyone's just thanking. That's very nice. Is it already 6 o'clock? Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It's 6 o'clock. Does anyone else have any burning questions? I mean, I always like to tell you about Syracuse, because if you don't know about Syracuse, it's actually a pretty cool town. And I know the students haven't, I know sometimes my niece went here. She didn't really hang out too much downtown, but if you like outdoors, you do need to like snow. But
yes.
So I'm going to go with Maya. Did you want to ask a question?
I think you guys mentioned this earlier on the slideshow for how the neuroscience major kind of splits up into 2 pathways of like cognitive and then the more biology side of it. Is that all going to be covered under the neuroscience major, or is it like you choose a path?
So no, it's all covered. Yeah, it's all covered. So all those on that one slide, they're listed like basically the 24 credits. So those are all the classes. The first, the list had 6 core courses that you have to take. And then the 2 electives are like what you want to choose. But those first 6 are the ones you have to take. So those include both biology, psychology, and communication sciences.
Okay.
Yeah. So you mentioned Maya. You said, what was it that you were interested in? I know I remembered finance. I remembered neuroscience. What was the first? Was it bio?
Psychology.
Oh, psychology.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. So again, you're going to have upper division. So in biology, I don't know what it is in psychology. You have to take 22 upper division courses from your core courses, right? So for the biologists in the room, your core courses are going to be your intro bio, genetics, cell bio, right? And then that's what I always try to tell the other students. We have a lot of neuroscience courses that Dr. Jones put up there in biology, which means you can use those, because I think it speaks to yours. Like, are you going to, there are majors like this at much, much bigger schools. So someone said we were a big school. I like to say we're a medium school, actually. Yeah. We're not a small school, but we're not Michigan State, which is 40,000 people. And Michigan State does have a program, and I only say that because that's where I got my PhD, where you take a course set and then you decide, Maya, like you'd be like, I'm more interested in the behavior side of the neuroscience, so I'm going to specialize in that side. Or I'm more interested, Hana, I'm more interested in the bio side, so I'm going to take more bio classes. So we are not that big, right? But again, and you won't have 400 people in your intro to neuroscience class. So, but we do what Dr. Jones said. We try to cover the breadth and depth and allow you to do what you need. And within the liberal arts core, you can also take more, like philosophy of the mind and machines. We have courses in philosophy. I always try to tell the students to take them that are in fact neuroscience based, cognitive neuroscience, and you can use them towards your liberal arts core as well to fill that out.
Okay, and I have another quick question about the electives, like the 2 electives you can do. And I know you in the chat, you said there was neuroeconomics. Would that be with the Whitman School?
Yeah, so there's not a neuroeconomics class. The reason I did that is because we actually had an economics major who wants to do neuroeconomics, and it is a thing, but he studied economics, yes, in Whitman, and then was a neuroscience major with us, with his intention of getting his like MBA in neuromarketing, neuroeconomics.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. But there are such things. And the reason I said that is because in the Neuroscience and Society class, when I taught it, we talked about neuroeconomics, neuromarketing. So people could see like, what is neuroscience about? Neuroscience and the law, right? And you have like these really interesting discussions that don't necessarily have answers to them, right? And people have different opinions about whether this is useful. What would you do? Like one of the questions I always posed, is the question about the pedophile, right? He's on trial and you find out he has a brain tumor. You take out the brain tumor, he no longer has those tendencies. Is he still guilty? And I leave you with that. And that's the kind of sort of questions that we do. Government policy, like Dr. Jones said, this is put in place because someone believes this to be true, and we'll look at the neuroscience basis. So it's that's an awesome class. I love that class. So excellent. But I just want you guys to know, like, it is a really pretty campus. So if you are really interested in Syracuse, you should come out and look. Are you all
behind me?
I know, exactly. You have. I'm in my house. So are you, you guys are juniors now or seniors? Like, are you getting ready? Senior. Okay. Yeah. Senior. So you're getting ready to apply if you haven't applied already. Is that it? So you're, yeah. If you get a chance, you really should come and, if you're serious, and see the campus and the area. I know it's hard if you don't have a car or whatnot, but we do have this. Have you guys ever done it? I mean, I think, Mitchell, you're just busy, but the connective corridor that will take you from campus downtown, but surrounding us, there's a ski club. If you ski, there's a ski club that takes you out so we have a bunch of peaks that are within like 20-30 minutes. It's kind of a joke in Syracuse that everything's within 20 to 30 minutes of here. The Adirondacks are in fact a couple of hours. The Finger Lakes are an hour away. If you like, and we're on the Erie Canal if you like to kayak and stuff like that. I moved here 10 years ago, and I tell people I moved here for the job. I had no idea. I'm from Massachusetts, and I've lived in Michigan, and I've lived in St. Louis, Missouri, and I spent the 15 years before in Connecticut. We love it here. This is home. So I don't know how you guys feel. Do you like Syracuse? Where are you from, Hana and Mitchell? And do you like Syracuse? And
I'm from Pennsylvania, the Poconos. So I'm used to somewhat of the same weather, but yeah, it's nice here. I don't love the winters, but
yeah, I know. Well, yeah. It's true.
You live with it.
I'm actually from Pennsylvania too. I'm from Harrisburg. So similar weather, just a lot less snow. But I love the snow. That's why I came up here. So
nice. It's good to hear that for a change.
I do not love the snow. I don't know why.
I'm actually from Syracuse. I've been here most of my life. I've moved away for different jobs and what have you. I've lived in Virginia and Boston, Michigan, but I always come home basically. But it's just a nice city. There's, some great places to eat here. I mean, we do have good food here. We have really good pizza here. If you are from here and then you move away, you're like, oh, where's my pizza? But we have a lot of nice shops downtown. The downtown area is like a lot of fun. It's cute. It's small enough that you can kind of walk around and get to where you want to go, but big enough to offer a lot of cultural events too. So we just reopened the Landmark Theater, which is a historic theater, offers lots of musicals and plays. And there's just a lot of things, a lot of hiking around the area. There's a lot of like great parks in the area.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's been my home for my whole life practically, but there's a reason that we do come back here, and it is just it's a small community, and but big enough that you feel like there's stuff to do, which is nice.
Ella, you had your hand up. Did we answer your question, or?
I was gonna ask like what you guys usually do around there, like what there is to do and stuff like that.
I'll let them talk because I do different things.
Through the university, we have a ton of different clubs that offer things. I know we have a lot of adventure programs, so horseback riding, hiking. There's a lot of things. I don't know if Mitchell has any extras.
I'm gonna be honest. Most of my free time is spent in the library. But
Yes,
when I'm not in the library, I do like taking advantage of like the opportunities to go hiking in the nature, go to like the Green Lakes, different things like that. So there's lots of opportunities outside of the city to spend time in nature and get away from the homework and the screens and all of that. So
yeah, there's out in Pompey, which is a bit of a drive, but there's the what is that called? The Highland Forest. And so even if you've never done it, I mean, it's great just to hike around too, but if you haven't done it, Mitchell, you should go if you can. And I don't know, I guess, if you don't have a car, but you can rent snowshoes or cross-country skis there. And like I said, there's lots of peaks. So like there's Labrador and Song, and there used to be one that the students all went to called Tog Hill, but I think it closed. It got bought, and I think it's being revamped to something else. But there are definitely, if you're into that, and then like I said, if you join the ski club, then they take you there. So that's part of how it is. So Syracuse it is hard, right? You're going to spend a lot of time doing work. But there are a lot of things that would allow you, like, I know I'm of a Portuguese background. So it's like, there's a Portuguese club. There's like every club. If you're into a cappella singing, there's a club for you. There's like a jazz club. I mean, there are, hardcore political clubs on either side. And, there's the young Republicans and the young Democrats on campus. There, the farm workers union people. You can be an activist. You can just have fun. There is, for those of you who are interested in a Greek life, I'm not a big fan, but there is one. Hana's laughing, but we do have a Greek life here on campus. So, and it is a very hilly campus with lots of sledding opportunities and serious wind. I am just going to tell you, there have been a couple of times in my life when I'm walking from my parking garage to my building where I had to hold onto a sign because I'm small. You might not be able to tell, but I'm only 5'1", and I was like walking against the wind. And that was only a couple of winters where it was unbearable. So it hasn't been, but I would have to say it was pretty unbearable. Like, but it's like a day, I mean, it's cold. So, oh my God, is there a gym? Tell them about the gym. Tell them about the Barn Center. This is why you have to come.
Yeah,
there's tons of gyms.
Our gym, the Barn Center, it opened, well, it did a reopening, right? I don't know, 29.
Yeah, it was completely revamped.
Completely.
Yeah, they spent millions of dollars on it.
Yeah, it's like 4 floors. We have a rock climbing wall, pool, hot tub, 3 fitness floors, a weight room. Then we also have like a smaller gym on campus, which is in one of our dorms. So if you don't like the big gym, but then we have a lot of fitness classes. We even have classes you can take like for college credit, like a physical education class. They have those types too, but you can just do it recreationally. Then we have like tons of fields and stuff that we have tennis courts, basketball courts, I think.
Yep. Everything. So the main is called the Barn Center at the Arch. And then not only is it just like in that dorm, I do believe that there's gyms in were you ever in the freshman up on Mount Olympus? Or no? Yeah. So they're there. And also,
I was not.
Yeah. You probably don't even know about, but also on Marshall Street is sort of the street where it's like Dr. Jones was saying, where the Sheridan, it's sort of like on campus, and it's considered off campus, is really on campus, where there's like Starbucks and a bunch of restaurants. And there's another building where there's a whole other gym inside. And if you're thinking like Ernie Davis across from that today, every time I come, I'm like, oh, look, they're doing a boxing class in the morning when I'm coming in at 8 o'clock in the morning. There's all these kids, boxing in the Ernie Davis Hall. And that also has a gym. So it's like an open space. And I took like a Zumba class there, and because faculty can do that too. But yeah, the new pool is an Olympic sized pool, I believe, and the women's building has a pool. And then they also have a lazy river, I'm pretty sure, right? Is there a lazy river now in the new building?
No, it's like an S-shaped pool, and with a big movie screen. So I think there were plans to do movie screenings, but then COVID hit. But I'm hoping that
Where is this? I have never heard of that.
You have to go.
I went huge screen.
And there's tons of places that you can use your so you guys get like your meal card on your ID and stuff. And so like I just went to the Barn Center to get my flu shot. So they have a pharmacy there. You can get your prescriptions filled right on campus. And I got my flu shot. And then I was like, oh, look, it's Otto's juice bar. Otto, of course, being Otto the orange. And you can get smoothies and stuff, and you can use your ID, to pay for it and everything. Almost every building also has food. They just redid the Shine Student Center. I think some people said they were here and they said the campus was beautiful. I'm sure they saw it. The Shine Center is to die for as well. And they've revamped all the food opportunities in the Shine Center. The library has its own cafe. You can get coffee and lunch and stuff like that. So it really makes it, but for the kids who are in the dorms too, your dorms have an amazing array of food. I actually went and tried a few because I wanted to see what life is like, so I can be more knowledgeable and also go, oh my God, this is not what it was like when I was in college. Anyway, Elizabeth, sorry. Elizabeth.
Yeah, you could call me Elizabeth. That's okay. Mitchell kind of answered this question, but I wanted to ask Hannah. You told you have you triple major. So how much actual free time do you get?
I would say I have more free time than Mitchell, I guess. Honestly, I don't find it super difficult. Once you're good with time management, I think, you allow yourself some free time. I've noticed most semesters I don't have Friday classes. So a 3-day weekend helps because I can, finish work before the weekend even. But I also, like Dr. Jones said, it is a 24 credit major. So it is a little bit less work than you'd think. And also Syracuse is designed, if you do come in, at least for arts and sciences, with one major, you can graduate in 3 years. So you do have room to add something, or if you just want a ton of free time, you can do that. I think it's pretty easy to manage. But maybe that's just because I prioritize my fun times. I don't know.
Thank you.
Maya?
So this is kind of building up on Hana or Elizabeth. Sorry, I combined your names.
I like that name. I gotta go with that.
So for Hana, you take 3 major, like full majors, and then Mitchell, you take 2 minors. Which would, like, from both perspectives, which is like more work and less work? And like, what are the advantages of taking 2 minors instead of a major?
So I'd say, do you want to go first, Hannah?
I was gonna
Nope.
say Mitch has more work, but go ahead, Mitch.
I was gonna say it. I feel like it kind of equals out. I think that the advantage for me to do 2 minors is I can do 2 minors in different things. Like I'm doing Spanish and linguistics, which have some overlap, but they're different fields, different perspectives. So I guess that's what I'd say is the advantage of doing 2 minors. So yeah.
Yeah, I personally just don't have 2 things I sort of am interested in. So, and it was just more advantageous for me to major rather than minor in it. So that's why I did it. But he's also pre-med, right, Mitchell? So
Yeah.
that's a major in itself.
Yeah, pretty much. Pre-med, I think pre-med, out of the different things that I'm doing, I'd say pre-med is the one that takes up most of my time. I'm currently taking organic chemistry, which, if you know anything about pre-med, is like the pre-med class. So I'd say that's the most difficult class that I'm taking that takes up most of my free time.
I mean, to Hannah's point, and again, and so Mitchell, because he's doing all those things, doesn't have as much free time, right? And it just depends on how you structure your time. I had to work in college, right? So some of the way it is, I mean, Mitchell, I'll review. I literally was at the library every night until they, I don't know when the Syracuse University Library closes, if it ever does, but where I went to school, I went to Providence College, they would actually flick the lights and I was like, okay, I have to go now. So like I was in the library every night. I tried for a few years to do those Thursday night parties, but I had physics on Friday morning when I was a junior, so that was out the door. But I'm going to give advice that my mother gave me, which was, she always said, you should have one day when you try to do nothing. And I have always tried to do that too, which is why you have to, if you do all that, then maybe you can have Saturday that, and it's not nothing. You can either do nothing, you could read a book, you could go for a hike, you can do whatever you want, but it's going to be up to you. But I will tell you that Dr. Jones, Mitchell is not he's not typical. You just aren't. And I appreciate that you're here, because I don't want everyone to be scared away. We even try sometimes to beg students not to take as much, because we think that you should have a college experience that is beyond, beyond just worrying about day to day. And Mitchell may not do that, because he's exceptional, right? and he is. But what I'm trying to say, like, I have seen some students where I'm like, really? Do you really want to take genetics, cell biology, and organic chemistry together? I don't think you really want to do that. And sometimes they just go, I do, and I can, and I will. And but other times I'm sort of like, could you pick, like, let's take, like, one of my students is a PhD candidate in pharmacology. She graduated in 2020. She has a first author paper. Again, you would think, exceptional student from my lab. And she took a cooking class. Like, it was awesome. We got to try all of her creations of what she did, right? So she balanced some of that serious, intense science and she was an equestrian. And so she was part of so she had grown up with horses and did it. So she joined the equestrian club. And she actually, there were times, even when she worked at the lab, she's like, I'm going to go take care of the horse because that keeps me sane, right? So you have to find those things that you do that keep you sane. Mm-hmm. And she'd be like, I'm riding on Saturday morning. I'll be in the lab later on. You know what I mean? And so, but then she took that, and we do have, you will laugh, we do have wine, right? Wine appreciation, I call it, or whatever. But those are great classes to sort of have, because you people are all here. Most of you are going to be a dual science major. You know, I mean, we do have those people who do economics and finance and things like that, but it's not the norm. And so you need that downtime too, you know, and some people can find it and other people can be overwhelmed. But that's why we're here to talk to you about it too. And to say it's okay. I do this with my own kid. Like, guess what? You don't have to take that AP class. I mean, sure, all of you have taken that, but I'm sort of looking at them and going, I did fine without taking that AP class. It's okay if you don't do that. You're still going to do fine in college, you know? So I want you to know that there's just, you make your college experience and you get what you need from it. And we're here to try to help you to do it. And if you are Mitchell, to figure it all in, and if you're someone who just wants to do that with something else, you know, we're here to help you do that too.
So would you say it's easy to find in like classes that require like fulfill your core like requirements, but like are into so to find classes that fill the core requirements but also are catered to your interest? Because the whole double minor thing is what I was thinking of, is because I like the majority of the finance aspect, and I looked at the curriculum and what we'd be studying for Syracuse, but I also like business marketing. But I don't know if I'd want that as a whole other minor. But if I could take like a few classes and see if I'm interested in and like add it on later on, that was like my whole thinking process.
I think you guys can speak to that, but you can. In fact, some of the students when I talk to, I'm like, that have a biology major, a neuroscience major, and a psychology minor. And I'm sort of like, oh, and they're like, oh, I just needed one extra class. Yeah. You know, like they figured out that the classes that they took because they're interested in it and that worked in their liberal arts core as well, when they added it all up, they just needed like another class. And so that's why sometimes people end up getting minors. They don't have to do it, you know, but if it's just adding a class or two, you might find it useful to do so. But I also just want to say, you know, and again, I'm sorry, Mitchell, I keep picking on you. He's obviously doing this because he has a very broad interest in Spanish and linguistics and what he's doing. If you think you're doing this because it's going to look so awesome on your resume, I always tell students, no one's going to really look at that. I mean, you know, like, it's not that they're not going to look at, you know, what you did, but I mean, if you think it's like, I'm going to show everyone, you know, if it's what you want, I want you to do it. But if you're doing it because you think it's something that later on, you're better off, like I try to tell students, you know, really focusing on what you're doing and doing it incredibly well, because that's what's going to follow you if you want to go to get your MBA, or you want to go to graduate school, or you want to do things like graduate school is going to look at it, but they're really going to say, what's your overall GPA? Look at your classes. I'm going to guarantee you, because I look at graduate school applications, you don't get bonus points, you know, for having 4 majors. So I just only say this because I do not want to scare people away to think that, you know, this is the norm. But I think it's awesome that Mitchell could do it and that he's happy and that he can get what he needs from Syracuse University. So kudos to you, Mitchell.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mitchell. You wanted to talk.
Yeah, I was just gonna add to that, to your point, because I think that's something that I've been thinking about ever since I got here is what are you interested in? Like, what do you love to do? And like my parents always tell me, sometimes my advisors tell me this too, you can't do everything. So you have to figure out what you're really interested in and how you can pursue that. And so far, I think my advisors and my support system that I have at Syracuse has really helped me figure that out and figure out how I can do it. So I'm really grateful for the people that I have here on campus that are helping me do that.
So you obviously don't, I mean, because your work is through your research, right? In a way, the work, Ella asked a job about campus jobs, but there are tons of campus jobs, right? And you can sit at the desk in the Barn Center and make sure that people swipe their cards, right, to get into the gym. But in my lab, I I like to pay people who do research in my lab because I feel like it is part of a job. It may not be as many hours as you spend because part of that's your academic experience, but particularly if there's anybody who's going to have work study, I always ask when people start enjoying my lab and they work for a while, I'm like, do you have work study? And then you pay them. So there's a lot of different work study jobs. There's like on Marshall Street, there's Starbucks, which is totally not work study, right? But there are jobs off that are close to campus, but off campus. But I only found this out because Dr. Jones, we did this, right? What was it called? There's a place on campus where you can look for campus jobs. I'm the wrong person to ask.
Handshake.
Handshake. Yeah. Thank you. I knew it had to do with a hand.
Yeah, it's like a website program, whatever. It just lists all the jobs that are available. You can internships also. You can classify if you want work study or off campus or anything. It's super helpful, and advisors strongly recommend you using it. So
it's a really helpful resource. I was able to find a job in the dining hall last year. That was just happened to be the dorm that I was living in. So I worked in the dining hall that was just down a couple of floors from me. So that was easy. I didn't have to commute or anything like that. So Handshake is a really valuable resource.
I think we're giving you lots. I'm learning stuff too. I did only learn about Handshake this year. So.
Me too.
Ellen, you have your hand still up. Did we answer your question or?
I promise I only have one more question.
It's totally okay because people can come and go as they want, but everyone's still here, so they must be interested. Or a bunch of people here. So.
Yeah, I have so many things I want to know. But this is my last one. So
okay.
Obviously Mitchell has a very diligent course load. So with the pre-med, pre-health or pre-med focus, would you say that it's always that time consuming, or just because he has like 2 minors and all that other coursework, is it still going to be as time consuming?
I think it's just, in my opinion, it's just organic chemistry is a difficult course that you have to take. The rest of it, I mean, physics is also difficult, but really when it comes down to it, organic chemistry is a really important class as a pre-med student. So it's important that you dedicate a lot of time to make sure that you're understanding that, because it's the foundation of everything that you do.
Thank you.
I mean, it's just, there's just a lot of things you have to tick off, but the biology major is pretty close or biochemistry even will, these days when people say they want to be pre-med, I tell them to look at biochemistry even more than biology because it requires physics and it requires biochemistry, which many med schools require. And so so you're doing it within your major, and yes, and if you're doing neuroscience, then you're getting the psych part that you want to get, So if you look up, if you haven't done it, wherever you're from, Ella, where are you from?
I'm from New Jersey.
So New Jersey. So I'm just going to say this, not that, and I know everyone wants to go to Harvard, but if you look up Rutgers, or, the New Jersey Medical School and just say, what are their requirements? Look at it. And you'll see it's not a ton. It might say 2 full biology courses, at least a semester of psychology, 4 semesters of chemistry, which you're going to get, right? And that he's doing your organic and your inorganic chemistry. And you'll look through it and you'll see then what major might fit, like physics, but not everyone does. So if you think you're going to go back and go to New Jersey because you're a New Jersey resident, or I do that here, I've looked up what SUNY Upstate, even like Stony Brook is different. I've looked up NYU, I've looked up, and you just kind of want to see, and you'll see that there are majors that will help you do that. And our pre-health, by the way, and Hana, you said you're not pre-health, right? Mitchell is, but you're not. Yeah. They're going to help you also make sure that you get what you need. And which I didn't know until I actually got here myself. When you apply to med school, they help you. So they're going to send out letters to the people. Like if you worked in my lab, to write the letters, they're going to curate. They have a committee that actually has relationships with med schools across the country. And they do rank you in terms of, and help get you where you want. You can still apply to med school through an AMCAS system that has nothing to do with Syracuse University. But if you're here, the whole goal of the pre-health office, it is their job is to help you get into med school, right? And I also want you to know that we do plan Bs. I do anyway. My advisors sometimes like, okay, what happens if you don't get in? There are post-bac programs. Actually, Rutgers is funny that I brought that up. Rutgers is one of the ones I tell people to look at because not only is there a post-bac program, but it allows you, if you hit about 70% of the people who go through that program get into Rutgers, New Jersey Medical School. Drexel has a program in Philadelphia for those you guys from Pennsylvania, where if you maintain a certain GPA and get a certain MCAT, you will be guaranteed a position at Drexel. So we have worked with students. One of my husband's students ended up going to Tufts for a post-bac. And you end up with a master's, by the way, in these post-bacs generally. Then she ended up back up at SUNY Upstate, graduated first in her class. And she literally now, because she just sent me, she is a neurosurgery fellow at the University of Wisconsin. So that was one of our neuro students. and so she didn't get in right away. Many people want to get in right away. One of Miles actually just told me, Robin, he got into Emory. He took 2 years off because
Good.
he's so
That's
excited.
exciting.
Very exciting. But you have to do a lot of clinical work too to get into med school. So it's not just your grades, right? So there's a lot of stuff. He didn't do that here because he was very much into the source. He was in the LGBTQ. He was president of the Q Club. You know, he had a lot of things where actually I will tell you at the end, and you don't want to kind of be like this a senior, it was a little overwhelming for him. He was writing his distinction, his thesis for my lab, you know, and everything. And so he was like, I need a break. He went home to Atlanta, got a job at Grady Memorial Hospital for 2 years, and now has gotten into and he had a 3.9, by the way. I'm just saying, so he just needed to shore up his application and to study for his MCATs, because you got to study for your MCATs, right? And you have to do well in your MCATs. And so he took these 2 years and now he's just getting tons, right? So you don't have to feel like it's everything about, we are still going to help you get where you want to go 2 years after you leave, 5 years after you leave. I just got an email from a student who's a third-year medical student who is a neuro, Mohammed Asghar. Do you remember him? And he wants to do research in my lab. He's a third-year medical student now.
Oh my
He's
goodness.
like,
Is he at Upstate?
he's at NY IT. It's an osteopathic school.
Oh, yep.
In New York Institute of Technology or whatever. Yep. And that's the thing, what Dr. Jones put up, people want to go to med school, but we have people who go to osteopathic school, right? People who want to be PAs, things like that. So I do want to tell you that we want to get you to where you want to be. And if that doesn't look like it's going to happen right away, one of my students is now a Vanderbilt PhD student. She took a gap year and worked at Vanderbilt, by the way, took a job as a technician and then said, okay, I'm going to apply to graduate school. So it may not be directly out, but we're like, what are your goals? Are we going to make them directly after? If not, what is plan B, or how do we get there? I am telling you, we do this well. I hope you feel that way. The students feel that way, but that is what we do this well. Elizabeth.
Yeah, I have a question that's like a bit out of context, but do you have many international students? Yeah. So I wanted to ask, what are the biggest problems for getting used to studying abroad, in the USA?
I think we have, my best answer that I know how to answer this, the best way I know how to answer this question is that we do have an entire, I don't even know what we call it, but it's a group that is dedicated to that transition to coming to the US and studying, particularly at Syracuse. So we have, in fact, so before COVID, everything's before or after COVID now. So before COVID, I actually came in early in the summer. Well, I mean, it was early, I guess I'll call it early in the fall semester, but it was late summer. We did a special orientation just for international students, and just help them figure out how do you navigate Blackboard? How do you navigate, like, where do I go on campus to find this? What does it mean to commit an academic violation? What's academic integrity? What is plagiarism? Like all of these things that like you might not know if you aren't from here, typical like lingo that we use in an academic environment. You know, what's a typical process that a professor might use to, you know, post assignments, or how do I use Turnitin? All of these things to help international students. And it was just it was special for international students. It wasn't all freshmen. It was literally for anyone coming internationally. Didn't have to be a freshman, could be sophomore, junior, senior. Maybe they weren't starting, they were only going to complete half their education here. So they do a great job of onboarding and giving you a lot of resources and places to go when you're not really sure what to do. And so that they also try to build a community so that you have other international students that you can talk to. So you'll share common challenges, as you're saying. And you can talk to each other.
There's also, I don't know if you guys have done it, but even in the dorm system, so this is all coming back to me now, there are, what do they call learning communities?
Yes.
So you can find a learning community, obviously, of where people that you like, but I believe there's also the, you know, I'm going to call an affinity group, but if you wanted to, you could be, if you wanted to, you'd be part of an international learning community, you know, if you felt that that was something that you wanted to, you know, obviously maintain. So we have those options too. The dorm system, you know, you just need to see. And I feel like all the things that you just said, I think every freshman should learn. I don't know that, you know, I have to relearn Blackboard every 6 months.
I know. Seriously.
But anyway, you know, I don't think, Elizabeth, where are you from? Are you abroad right now?
Yeah, I am from Latvia.
Oh, and you're
cool.
and are you bent on coming to the US for? Yeah.
I know that I definitely want to have a major in neuroscience, and in Europe there isn't such a thing for undergraduates. That's why the USA is the best option for me. But yeah, I'm terrified right now. I still don't know what's a Blackboard, but I'll learn it.
It's very easy.
She says. No, it's a system that we use for our classroom. And so you can put everything on there, and the students, and we as professors can just email all of you all at once, and we can make announcements, and it's just something that you will use as a resource in your courses. That's all. And if you are, I agree, if you're sort of, you know, halfway, you just have to know it exists, right? And then you'll play with it. And we get questions all the time. You know, I learned actually during the pandemic, I had never given an exam on Blackboard and didn't know that you could do that. So I'm constantly learning, and then I learned how to do it. And it's pretty cool, because I had people that were in California, and I could go in and delay or get them, you know, so they're like, no, you don't have to really get up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock to take your exam. I just won't open your exam until a certain period of time. So there's lots of, it just has some nice functionalities. You can do chats in it. Dr. Jones uses it way more efficiently than I do. That's for sure. She's really good at it, but you can ask, right? You can ask your friends, or you can ask the professor, you know, and I've learned stuff. People have said things like, I can't see it. And I've gone in and realized that I made it invisible to you people, but someone always lets me know.
I have that problem too.
Yeah. So I don't know, unless we have any other, I really appreciate Hana and Mitchell coming, and poor Mitchell, you are an exceptional child. We are not all exceptional. That's all I'm saying. You know what, yes, we're incredibly lucky. I do think though, I'm just going to reiterate, I think Dr. Jones will, and the students will do it. you are at a medium-sized university, right? So you are going to get all the things that you need to get, but within the neuroscience, so if you're a biology major, there's like 400 of you, right? Psychology is huge, 400 a class. That's what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
you know, or 200, maybe we have 250 biology, but psychology, I think there's 400,
Yeah.
like in the freshman class. You get this smaller community with neuroscience. That's not why you do neuroscience. You're all here because you're really interested in it, right? And within that, even though our major is smaller, and I'm just going to say it again, you can then super that up, you know, with all the offerings that Dr. Jones showed on that one, like pharmacology of drugs of abuse, or, you know, and so I think it's a great school. I'm trying to get my son to go. He's rebellious, but we're gonna try. But I mean, my niece went, so you know, so it's kind of funny, you know, she came here and was an art history major, so that was her thing, and you know, obviously not a scientist. So there's an amazing humanities program for the people who are interested in that, obviously with the linguistics and Spanish and all that. So it's really a great liberal arts education. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't believe it.
And we also, Elizabeth, we have a really big international community,
yeah,
and tons of resources for international students. So I think that should be the least of your worries. I think Syracuse would be a good school coming as an international student, just because of how much help they give to them.
Well, thank you so much for the Zoom. I'm gonna go sleep because it's 2 a.m.
Yes.
here.
Oh my
goodness.
gosh.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming.
And if
Thank
you
you
have
so
any
much.
questions, you send us.
All right.
Yes, absolutely, do that.
Okay,
And find
goodbye.
us. I tell that to students too. If you find us and say hello to us on day one, we know who you are. And you know, not everyone is as caring as we are, but for the most part, I don't want to, you know, expectations like completely that everyone's like us, because they're not, but there's a lot.
There's a lot. Yes.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye. Ella
Good
asked
night.
about transfer credits. I can tell you there's a site on the website about transfer credits, and I don't know, but I think you can also talk to, did you guys have transfer credits coming in, either of you, or?
I did, yeah. I had just one class worth, but it's pretty easy to get transfer credits to come through. You just need to talk to your advisor and submit it's just like an easy form that you have to fill out, and it's pretty simple.
And sometimes even if they're not necessarily accepted, like right now, Dr. Jones, we just did you. I just happened to help facilitate. We have a student who wants to go to Copenhagen and take some neuroscience classes. So we got a syllabus of one of the classes, and it's really a hybrid bio psych class on, is it cognitive? I can't remember the name.
Neuropsychology.
Oh, neuropsychology of brain injury.
Yeah.
And so we looked through the syllabus, and we just got College of Arts and Sciences said, sure, if you want to use that as a neuroscience elective, you can. So we try to do that as well, as long as we get the information from you. Some people may have already taken like an intro neuroscience class. We do like you to take ours here, but if it really is pretty much the same, you can petition and we can accept it. Some of you will come in. I know you don't have to have AP credits. Like I said, some of you though will come in with AP credits. And of course you have to score a certain number, right? On your,
or whatever. Yeah.
so for it to be accepted. So sometimes we, like right now I have a student in my lab and she's definitely just a sophomore, but she looks like a senior. I mean, a junior, not a senior, but a junior, because she also took, for the people in the area here, I don't know if it's anybody in the Syracuse area, but there's a SUPA we have, and it's actually Syracuse University classes that are through the high schools. And actually they just put out today, there's juniors and seniors that can take online courses that are actually college courses. And obviously they would absolutely count towards SU. You can ask for SU credit. I don't know how they go to other universities, but so sometimes people come in and they do have a lot more credits But then that gives them the flexibility to either, someone said this, I do have people who graduate early, but other people then are able to do what Mitchell is doing and explore in other areas, or even just take a fun classes at sort of their senior year. They can really take that art history class or the philosophy class or the wine appreciation class, the baking class that they want to take. So, and I think that's important too, be able to do that too. So I'll stop talking. I could talk forever. You want to say goodbye, Dr. Jones?
Yeah.
Do the last
Anything
part?
else? I just wanted to. All right. So thank you all so much for coming and listening and asking questions. And please do feel free to reach out if you think of other things that you want to ask. Any of us are happy to answer your questions. So good luck in your decision. We'd love to have you. And you should visit. Definitely, if you get a chance, visit.
Yeah, I know that's not possible for some people, but if you do, and the last thing I'll say. So I went to Providence College. I think I told you. So this is Big East. When I was going Syracuse, I knew Syracuse because of the Big East. My parents wanted me to go to Providence College. It was literally 30 minutes from where I grew up in Massachusetts. And I was like, there's no possible way. And then I went and I visited and I saw everything and I looked up and I felt at home. So I even say, if you walk on this campus and you don't feel at home, it's not the place for you, right? But if you walk on this, and I bought a Providence College sweatshirt, I'm going to tell you, I graduated 35 years ago. I still have it. It's upstairs. I should have worn it, although they'd probably be upset, if I have to wear my Syracuse University. But it is a sense you want to feel that this is a place that you want to be. It is how I chose my graduate school as well. When I went to, I won't name it, a school in Washington, D.C., and I thought, can I spend 5 years here? And the answer was no. So it's important is what I'm saying. So if you have, I know not everyone has that opportunity, and people come cold and they find it, but if you can come, because I think then you will either feel that it is a place that you want to be, or it's definitely not a place that you want to be. And I think that's just as important for sure. We want you to go and have the best experience wherever you go. So thank you, Hana. Thank you, Mitchell. I really, and Dr. Jones, thank you for putting this together, and for all of you who came to hear about, hear about us.
Yes.
So
thank you. Good luck. Bye,
Thanks so
everyone.
much.